friends, it's Caleigh Bird. Welcome back to my channel. You know I'm always thrilled to have you. So today I am coming at you from Ocala State Park in Central Florida. It's winter time, so it's not the most lush time of year, but it is still plenty green. It's very beautiful. It's been lovely camping out here. So today you are in for a treat because I am going to start a 5-part series all about drawing the face, the portrait, very realistically from multiple angles so that you can actually get a grasp on how to draw a real three-dimensional face. So today we are going to start with the nose, and I'm going to show you 3 different angles to draw the nose from. And then I'm not sure in what order, but we'll do eyes, ears, mouth, and then last we will do the head, the entire head structure of the head and where everything is placed on it. So you guys make sure you subscribe. Boom, because you do not want to miss this. I'm going to be doing it every other week for the next, like, whatever. It'll be 2.5 months, I guess, 5 weeks, so every other week. And if you are curious and would like to know more about my stay and all my adventures here in Florida and everywhere else, make sure you go down to my blog post and subscribe to that, because I do usually twice a week, 1 YouTube video and then a blog post as well about my adventures and all the exciting things going on. So you can subscribe to that and you will get a weekly birdie blog roundup with my YouTube videos as well as my adventures every week in your inbox. Yay, yay, yay. So anyways, mwah, thanks for being here, guys. I hope you learned so flipping much. This is going to be a great series and you are going to be so good at portraits after this. So don't forget about that subscribe button, and I will see you in a minute. For today's demo, I've got a 2B pencil because I find it shows up better on the tone paper. I have got a woodless 2B pencil for blending. I've got a white Conte pencil. And then I've got my Mono Zero eraser, my map eraser, and my kneaded eraser. Okay, so think of the nose facing straight on as sort of being like comprised of 3 circles. So you've got sort of the main little area of the nose, the main little point, tip, whatever, and then you've got your 2 nostrils on the side, right? So that is kind of the shape of the nose, and then of course it comes up where it meets your brow, right? So that is kind of the very basic shape of the nose. But I'm not really a fan of drawing basic shapes and then drawing over them. So when I'm looking straight on at a nose, in a general sense, for the most part at eye level, you can expect a shape sort of like this. This being the bottom of the nostrils right here, the actual nostrils themselves, and this being the lower part of the nose where, of course, it meets your lip underneath. So if you think about this sort of shape coming down in your 2 nostrils, then you've got the sides here and here, and then somewhere around up in here you've got sort of the brow meeting the top, right? But for the most part you're not going to get a lot of lines. Sometimes you might get up to the bottom of the nostrils sort of showing. The key to a good nose is not having a lot of line work. It is, of course, having some shading. So when you're going to shade a nose, you want to make sure to think about this round area, right? So as I'm shading, I'm going to shade underneath a bit, and I'm going to kind of encompass that roundness just a little bit to show that that's there. Now, of course, the bottom part is going to get shaded a little more. Then I'm even going to come up on the top just a smidge. Now, of course, underneath the nostrils would get shaded a little bit, as would down below, just as a good shadow shape. Now, of course, if you want to get detailed, you know that you are going to have sort of the apex of the shadow right underneath, and your shadow is actually going to be slightly lighter at the base of the nose, of course, with some reflective light. So don't forget that reflective light. It really does make a nice difference. Here we go, a little reflective light right there. There we go. Now, a lot of times you've got a little bit of an indentation around here. And of course, you'll have a little bit of shading wherever the eye meets and stuff. But we're not gonna go into eyes or anything right now. We're just gonna focus on the nose. And so it's a good idea. Usually you'll show some kind of shading of the nose on the sides. And then don't forget, honestly, a lot of times I like to do just a hair above. So as you're shading the sides, I'm gonna shade around just a touch. And then, not too much, just a little, just a little. And then if you want to go in like me with your highlighter, and that's where your brightest point is going to be on top. Give a little action on the sides. There you go. There's one nice nose, and of course, most likely you'll have a little highlight up here going on too. Alrighty, on to the profile view of a nose. So remember how we had those 3 balls in the beginning? Now you really only see 2 of them. So you'll think about having one in the very front, and you've got one nostril behind. The other one, of course, you would not see. But now you've got more of a profile with that brow line, right? And then you've also got a connective area to go to the upper lip. Now, there are a few things to remember with the nose. One is that most people have a slight bump. And of course, this shape of the nose can be very different. You can have an upturn, it can be down a little bit more. This can be very more prominent. But for generally speaking, I'm just gonna draw sort of a standard kind of nose without any super bold features. So we've got our brow line. We're gonna come up. Oh, I wanna have the nice clean line, so I'm gonna start that over. Okay, so from the brow line, we're gonna come up, give it just a little bump in the nose, and then we've got our tip. Okay, coming back down, and you're gonna lead into the lip. Now, usually the lip will be farther back than the brow line. Not always, but often. So the lip comes up. We won't worry about that now. And then the nostril, a lot of people want to put it up here, but in actuality, your nose, the actual hole to your nose, the nostril is more back here. And then you've got the cup of the nostril farther back. And you know what? I think I might even given that lip a little bit too far back. I think it needs to come up just a little bit further. I'm actually not using a reference for this, guys. I am just kind of going off of the hundreds and hundreds of noses I've drawn. So there we go. So I've got my nice little bump. I've got my little ball. And I've got my little nostril. So then you're going to want to think about shading, of course, underneath, wherever the sun wouldn't hit, of course, down to that top lip a bit, and then around the nostril just a little bit, because remember that ball is still in the nose. Even though you are on a different side of it, it still is. Sometimes you might even see these coming around a bit, although it will be less strong than coming around front. And just shade with this guy a little bit to get that nice dramatic. There we go. And then under here a bit darker. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to leave that area, then of course whatever brow line or whatever, so there will be some shading up here in the brow line area. Oftentimes there is a little bit on the side, just where things are sort of meeting the face. Now, of course, this will always vary depending on who you are drawing, what time of day, what kind of, lighting you're experiencing, of course. But this is just kind of a general lighting with shading straight on. So we've got a little shade here. I think I'm going to actually make that brow line just a little bit less pronounced because it is a profile view. We don't want to forget. And then we'll come around here. Don't forget that we've got that nice little rounded bit in the nose to show that. And then we've got a nice little highlight on the tip and along the top. Probably get a little bit up on the brow line too, but we're not going to worry too much about that because we're just focusing on the nose. Oh, don't forget that little bit on top. And there we go. You've got a nice profile nose. Okay, now for 3/4 view. It's probably the most challenging, but I think we can do this. So once again, you've got your 3 balls of the nose. Think about the ball at the tip, right? Then you have got your second ball, it's more pronounced, and the third one, if we're looking at it 3D, is actually back here. So when you're drawing, you have to think about that third one just barely peeking out and the second one being a bit more pronounced. So this, of course, area would be not showing up, okay? And then, of course, with the side view, the nose came quite in. With the front view, it came quite out. So with the 3/4 view, it is kind of a little bit in between that area. So you're going to want to find yourself a happy medium in between the stark side view and the stark. So for the nose, we'll think about where the bottom of the ball meets the upper lip, and then the top of the ball usually has a slight indentation where it meets the rest of the bridge. Go ahead and pop in where those nostrils are going to line up. Remember, you're going to have a lot more space on one and a lot less on the other, and that is going to really show the 3-dimensional look. Most of this, of course, will be shading as well, just like anything else, because noses really aren't made up of very good lines. It's more about the shape. Make sure that nostril that is peeking behind is much, much smaller than the one that is peeking forward. I know it looks really strange as a line drawing, but honestly, this is the shape you're looking for. You might need to refine a few things, like I always do, but in the end, you're going to have your shape of the nose. As far as shading goes, you're going to want to come in and, of course, get underneath where the light will not be hitting it so much. Make sure to give a nice roundish sort of shape to the ball of the nose, and then give it extra dark area right below the nostrils, because that is going to really give it the depth to show that those nostrils are basically little holes, your little face holes. So give them a lot of shading under there, and make sure you concentrate on the ball of the nose. And of course, this will vary by person that you draw, but however their ball goes, make sure you highlight that. I often like to give a very stark contrasted line. I think that really shows sort of a measure of definition that sometimes the lighter shading doesn't allow. Think about where it meets the top of the lip. You might need to do some minor adjustments as far as getting into that little divot right at the top of the lips. I actually don't know what that's called. I should look into that. I always make sure to hit that spot just above the circular ball of the nose too, because that really tends to show a lot of depth. It shows the roundness in the tip of the nose, and in most artworks that tip of the nose is going to be the most prominent feature, which is why, of course, I will also hit it with that beautiful white highlight, and then I will continue it on up again, just a little bit of the bridge of the nose. Don't forget the nostril too. And you've got a beautiful, glowing 3/4 view nose. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. I hope you learned so much. Make sure you pop that subscribe button so that you can see the entire rest of the series of drawing faces realistically.